Good morning, everyone. Here in Maui, Hawaii, it's 11 a.m. on Monday, and it's Monday, October 7th. We are the Neutral Zone. I'm your host, Jason Schwartz. I'm here with my good friend and I want to call you a co-host.
I'm here and I'm there and then I'm gone again.
Scott was my summer replacement, but he's been, when I looked at the shows up online, I thought, this guy Scott, he's been present here on this show. I've really appreciated having him.
It was
Scott
fun.
Bushnell.
Yeah.
By the way, he's AlohaSwimLessons.com. You won't see it on the screen.
No.
But I like mentioning it because you on the radio don't know. Scott is around and available. He has been a real friend to me. We started our conversations really at length when we were walking in the pool.
Mm-hmm. Good exercise.
And an hour went by, and I thought, boy, this guy's interesting. We're a counterpoint, but then we find we agree on so many things when we actually drill down. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
You find middle ground.
Well, and there seems to be I'm not extreme. You're not extreme. We're just looking at things. All. Today is a very sad anniversary in that October 7th was the day of the slaughter of 1,200 people there in Israel, and that war has not only kept on, but it has escalated. It's now...
It's reaching... Well, we're in 70 years into this war.
Was that when Israel became a state, 1948?
Well, 5,000 years ago when Israel escaped Egypt out of slavery and wandered 40 years in the desert and ended up where they are. And then after Rommel ran through all that area and messed up all the borders after World War II, and they tried to get everybody to get along, they tried to create 70 years ago, they tried to create some peaceful zones for everyone, and the Palestinian state, which never existed before 1948, they created, and ever since it's been an ongoing war. The Palestinian state they created has not been happy with the way things shook out after Rommel reorganized.
Rommel, for you youngsters who don't know the Second World War, Rommel was a military chief for the Nazi Germany regime.
And he ran through that area with the tanks and just totally reorganized and scattered things to the winds. And then after World War II, the Unity of Nations tried to come in there and try to reorganize that area to keep everyone happy.
The League of Nations was like
the League of Nations.
Yeah, it was like a blink in history. We've had, it's interesting. I don't look at wars much. You have, I'd imagine.
Oh, yeah.
They seem to start where someone is saying, oh, no, okay, let's keep it down. Let's manage it. Let's make sure we do things appropriately and measured. Mm-hmm. And then they get bombed or all kinds of stuff.
I
was listening to something this morning about that. It's like when someone just slaughtered 1,200 people, do you go in and try to measure the counter move? I don't know.
No, the only outcome that's any good from war, which there is no good war,
right?
It's a horrible solution. I mean, a bad peace is so much better than any war.
Yeah.
I know I'm paraphrasing many people throughout history, but it's just been an ongoing thing. I've followed the Middle East since I was young, and I'm just like, what do you do? It's almost like this derangement syndrome that Hezbollah has, and some of the other factions over there that has this derangement syndrome against Israel.
And there's the Sunni Shiite thing going on.
Yeah.
So it's all complicated. Who is our enemy? Who is their enemy? Who is fighting who and what?
Israel right now is fighting on 7 fronts.
Wow, I don't know how you count 7 around that little Israel.
Isn't that right? And then this morning, I'm waiting for confirmation on this, Hezbollah detonated their own first nuclear device.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, in Iran.
In Iran?
Yeah. If you've got the materials to build something, I mean, since the 60s, 70s, all that's been public information. If you had uranium and had whatever you needed, you could pretty much build it in your backyard. And so...
Well, why is it that one of these nuclear devices could basically shift everything in our whole world forever? Why has that been on the table? Because no one has created an agreement globally that said, look, this will destroy the world.
Right, and
we're not going to do.
And
any
it's been
of this.
détente. It's been détente since the Cold War, and there has not been a détente available in the Middle East. What was it?
What does détente mean?
Détente meaning, I got a big stick, you got a big stick. Let's just stay on our side of the fences, and we'll be happy.
I see.
That's détente. Assured. We don't want to fight. We're going to kick your butt. We're going to kick your butt. We both have the same. And it's
Cold War
result. Basic Cold War result. Yeah. And so, but what I think has happened outside of Israel is a very thriving, vibrant community, very accepting of all religions. Every religion is practiced in Israel. And every state on the outside of that, there's only one religion practiced outside of the boundaries of Israel in that part of the Middle East.
Why is it that we can't all allow everyone to have their own religion?
We do, Jason. You and I do.
No, but I'm saying, what is it with people that they have to knock someone and push someone away and condemn them and want to kill them because they don't believe in the same way that
I honestly, I don't think it's about religion. I think it's about jealousy and envy. I really, all my years studying this, I think this is jealousy and envy. I don't think it has as much to do with religion as it has to do with you have stores to go to, you have a car, you have schools, you let your women can go to school, women can be doctors, women can do whatever, and they're like, no, you've got all these things. And I think when you're a young person growing up in a impoverished area and you're looking across the fence in this détente and you're seeing people thriving and happy and doing well, you're envious. I think that's the only possible root cause I can see for this.
So then why is religion in your conversation about they're all different and they have one kind of religion?
I believe that if you take a religion and you bend it enough, you can make it look like that if somebody they're letting this person or that person drive a car or go to school, that's in violation of their religion. So they must be evil if they have grocery stores, if they have cars to drive, if they have electricity that stays on, if they have running water. They must be evil. They're dealing with Satan. And if you package it like that, you can sell it. I mean, it's basically cult kind of thinking. And I'm not talking about, the Muslims. I'm talking about very small, very loud, noisy sects or cells within these countries who have slowly kind of grabbed hold, and now they are just influencing their power. And
like I heard conversation about Lebanon, and that when they're doing interviews of people, most people, it's hard to describe what most means anymore.
No, that's good point.
The Lebanese are glad to see the Hezbollah stranglehold being broken.
Yes.
Because you can't live a regular life when you've got a military group intermingled and interspersed in your community so heavily that you become a main target. And how can you live a peaceful life when all this is going on around you? And like you say, enemies are going to come shooting rockets and coming in and invading and upsetting your country.
Right.
Oh, boy.
You know, and what I've also seen, and this is just kind of firsthand, when my last gig coaching, when I was actually kind of doing it full time for a living, I was in Los Alamos, New Mexico. I got to know a lot of Mormon families, and I heard I had Mormon swimmers on my swim team, and I would hear stories from their parents who did their mission work in the Middle East, and I heard absolute horror stories from the 70s, 80s, when they were over there doing their mission work, at how they went out and they were trying, that's what the Mormon people do. That's kind of what most churches do. They try to reach out. And the stories that came back were just horrible. And if I also follow, I'm Catholic. I follow the Catholic, sites, and I've seen all the martyrs that have just been Lebanon, Iraq, Iran, all of those countries. They're always executing people that are out there trying to do a sales pitch for their religion. More, if you want to just put it down to brass tacks, sales tax for their religion. And if Hezbollah could sell their product like, this is such good news, you wouldn't have to start shooting at people. People would be lining up to join you. But it's more of that hate that, well, they've got this. We've got to get them. They're bad. They're being evil, so we need to punish them. They've become the judge and jury for people that have things that they don't have. And that's just sad.
And do we ever get past that thing about we are all just spirits in these meat bodies?
Well, now that we're
in a short while here, we're all going to be going somewhere or maybe going nowhere, and you won't be able to tell if I'm Christian, Jewish, Catholic.
No, the coroner can't tell.
Right? And so, but that's just the way our society, it seems.
Not our society, Jason. Not here in America. I totally disagree with that. And what's really hard...
Well, I don't know what you just said. What do you disagree with? What?
I believe that here in the Americas,
yeah.
I believe that we are very open and loving, and very, 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 very small rifts at all that are very microcosmed in any community.
They sure seem... Like
they're broadcast. It sells soap. It sells media time. Otherwise, it wouldn't. I have no neighbors. We get along perfectly. I don't know anybody that I've ever known that I did not get along with.
Well,
and that's what
I've watched people in this election cycle here in America now get so polarized and literally cut off speaking to people that have been friends for a long time.
And I blame the media for that. Absolutely blame the media for that. If you hear something 26 times, you will believe it is gospel.
Well, as much as we believe anything,
right.
Like people against people. You were just saying that here in America it's different, that we are somehow a gentler people that express brotherly love to each other. Is that where?
I absolutely believe that. The only thing
maybe we do,
but I believe that what I do with my swim lessons, cognitive behavioral change, you make micro adjustments and you create somebody that is totally fearful of something being very comfortable. They have weaponized that process. The CIA did it. The Soviets did it when they were in their big expansion state. And they dialed it into perfection. How to convince a population that this is the way to go. This all started back when the Russians were expanding it, back in the Reagan years, back in the Kennedy years when they were coming into Cuba. They came in and built libraries, but they put the right books in there that brought in the whole Marxist attitude. When the Sandinistas in South America, when the Soviets came through there, and the KGB came through there, they came in, got the Bibles out of there, and built these beautiful libraries, but they had them only with the books. That was before the internet. Now, anything that you do on your phone, anything you do on the internet, anything you watch on TV, somebody knows what you watch, how long you watch it, and how to sell you an idea or a vision or something like that. They have weaponized cognitive behavioral change, and they are using it against people. They first used it to sell Tide soap. They first used it to sell, Jiffy Pop popcorn, and now they're using it to sell a political ideology.
First of all, where's Jiffy Pop popcorn? I missed
It's
that.
still on the shelf.
Is it really?
They still have those little round things. You do.
They do?
I saw one the other day. It was awesome.
Well, when we talk about they, I think it isn't even just a few people.
It's
There's
money.
a lot. Our whole societal direction
It's being manipulated.
is manipulated now. And the younger people, I thought the younger people would be much more aware of things. Maybe they are. I don't know about wanting to strive for peace and how on the edge things are, and that we need to cooperate. And wouldn't they
I believe we
learn?
are, Jason. I think the media is only showing us things to make them. And the media right now, if you talk about CNN, NBC, Fox, all those other corrupt BlackRock corporations that own the people, less than 5% of the population is getting news from those organizations altogether now?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Where's their news coming from?
Coming from the internet, from like Sky News, from Australia, from news from China.
So they're choosing alternative.
They're choosing
media.
alternatives so they can compare and contrast. It used to be in the 80s. I remember during the Bush years or the Clinton years and the Bush years when things were going bad in the Middle East, and we had Wolf Blitzer embedded with CNN. And we were watching this, and I was comparing and contrasting the BBC coverage of that. And I was like, there's a different story here. There's a different story here. And it's still there, but you have to really dig for it.
Most people aren't digging.
No, that's just my.
I
do
appreciate that. So
Yeah.
when I'm speaking with you, you're digging.
Right.
My concern is there's no one's digging. There's a lot of surface stuff going on.
Yeah, if you go from CNN, NSMAC, and Fox, I swear you're just, they're all using the same verbiage. They're all using the same keywords. They're all using the same phrases. Why is that important? Because in cognitive behavioral change, when you're trying to adjust the behavior, if it's at MCCC with the guys that are trying to get a better attitude, or if it's with swimmers, the more you slowly wear that and slowly massage that, you can change behavior. Whether it being somebody that's a criminal or a felon, or somebody learning to swim, or whether it's coming into their own, and whether if somebody's pushing a political agenda. But if you can create conflict, and the biggest lot, I remember when this first started, I just went, this is going to go bad. My brother, my oldest brother, Bob, love him dearly, he was a director for KPTV Channel 12 in Portland. I was on commercials when I was little and stuff like that. And I would go to Portland Wrestling with him. He was the director for Portland Wrestling. Black and white, the whole thing, the whole professional wrestling thing. And I saw behind the scenes when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old. Because I would go on Wednesday or Thursday night, I would ride with him over in the evening. And they would practice the whole wrestlers. And he was a director. And there was a choreographer. Everything was TV. And it was all made up. The times they threw chairs when they were up by the announcers, and they threw chairs and were banging it. That was all made up. But people went because they liked that excitement, that drama. And all of a sudden, I'm watching Jerry Bussey, of the owner of the Lakers, back during the Lakers. Yeah. So he all of a sudden took the Lakers from being meat and potatoes basketball to bam, glitz, glory, girls, bang, all this. And all of a sudden the NBA starts picking up excitement because it became exciting. There was a story. There was Magic Johnson. There was Irving. It was
I got you.
Yeah, it all got exciting. And all of a sudden the news media was like, their ratings were going, and all of a sudden, NBA. Then the NFL started doing fireworks, rockets, halftime shows, Super Bowl, Kalitz Kaboom. And all of a sudden, they're going, we've got to make our news glitzy.
So the news became glitzy to try to compete with sports and
money, commercial time. Is it a story if two neighbors, one has a Trump flag and the other has a Kamala flag and they get along and they're best friends, that's not news. No. If they're shooting at each other, that would be news.
Well, by the way, that's an interesting thing when you're bringing up signs and things. I have not seen signs this year.
Oh, I saw another convoy of Trump people going down North Kihei Road all the way on the road. There was probably 3 miles of them.
But most elections around here, you see so many signs everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
But here we are in October, and signs aren't out. And ballots are going to be out in a week.
Yeah.
Right? And we all have to do it in,
no, you can go in. I want to go in.
You're going to wait until the election day?
No, you can go in. They have times.
You can go early at the county building, the clurk's office.
I like going in. It makes me feel like I'm making the effort. I like the old ballots, the hanging Chad.
Well, I remember that would be a good T-shirt. Let's hang Chad.
Chad, there you go. I think that probably was a president.
Probably was.
Yeah, I'm.
Well, we've been. Maybe our audience say, "Well, you stop talking about this stuff going on in the Middle East." And what things are going on in your world?
The hurricane. Oh my goodness!
Can you believe this morning 175 miles an hour?
Oh yeah,
in the Gulf, aiming at Tampa, Florida.
Oh no, this last hurricane, there are still I was watching him cut people out live this morning still. From Helena, I'm just like, wow, 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 wow.
Yeah, I know.
And FEMA's broke.
I understand that could happen, especially when they pay these rents that destroyed our rental market here.
Absolutely.
I still am really pissed off at.
Where are 20 million people that have crossed our border living? Well, that's a question we don't have answers for.
No, but I mean, when I listen to those things about these people coming across the border, even with 20 million less people, which isn't going to happen. We can't undo what already is.
No, we can't undo it, and they won't.
What already has happened. So,
see, George Bush Sr. back in his period, and I was so on board with the one thing he tried to do. He tried to streamline the immigration process, and he got slammed by both the House and the Senate when he proposed that. He says we need to be able to, if we can't control our border as well as we'd like, make our immigration process so clean and so thorough that we can let people in much more easily. Not this 10-year waiting period or whatever, but we need to be able to be that open Ellis Island, sign your name down, where are you from, where are your grandparents living, blah, blah, blah. And he proposed that. I was on board for it. I read his legislation that he proposed with a few other senators back then. And I was like, this is brilliant. This is how we fix this. That way people aren't, running across our borders. Did you see the latest news at how many people that have crossed our borders are just going all the way through and heading to Canada? And now Canada's freaking out because there's no barrier. They just, cross that field, you're in Canada. Yeah, and so now all of a sudden the cities in Canada are having some real difficulties because their social system is way overtaxed, even not that ours isn't.
So, listen, world.
If you elect Jason and I...
No. I mean, what do you do when you have too many people already? That thing about let's close the door. I remember when Hawaii had that going on. There are too many people coming here. It's taking over the place. Let's close the door behind us. Let's not solve the problems or try to address things. Let's close the door and make do with what we have and keep others out. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we can keep others out. Even if we do it legally, there still would be a massive number of people coming. Yeah. There's still
they will until the economy crashes.
Well, it's been, hasn't it? Well, again, it depends what you listen to.
Right.
Like, is the economy doing great? Well, for some people, it's doing great.
If you're a homeowner, you're doing really well. If you're somebody who has 30 years in a 401k, you're doing amazing. But if you really look at it, the buying power of the money you have is
ridiculous.
Yeah. And I go back to this story, and I've been telling this story pretty much my entire adult life. One of my closest friends growing up, his dad worked for the city for 40 years. Bought a lot on the beach for $500. Built the home himself. Built the home. Beautiful home, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. My friend and his sisters grew up there, everything else. And by the time he was ready to retire, the property taxes on that house were going to be over $35,000 a year. So he couldn't live there on a city retired water workers pension. And I was just like, wait, and nothing's changed.
$35,000
a year.
A year.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Beachfront property. Yeah. That's wrong.
So what happened? He had to move?
Well,
place?
they that was just a war. They ended up having to sell the property, and then somebody came in, bulldozed the whole thing down, and put up one of those $12 million monster homes.
Like it was happening here in Maui.
Which has been happening my entire life.
But here in Maui, these little shacky, I want to call them shacks.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dream City, but cinder block house in Kahului that when I was doing real estate more actively.
Oh, yeah, you're dialed in.
It was a couple of $100,000. Now it's $800,000
yeah.
for a bunch of an old cinder block house. And then new people come in and they build these houses that are modern houses.
Oh, on your road to your place. Some of those homes are huge. Yeah.
So this has gone on forever, and that's inland.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, McKenna and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I had a chance in 1982. Napili. Out to Kapalua, actually. They were building these beautiful condos over the edge looking over Napili Bay. And one of my friends, his partner was a realtor, and he says, hey, $1,000 down. I guarantee we'll keep that thing occupied and you'll never have to pay a bill on it. It was going to be $90,000 for a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 3-bedroom home overlooking Napili Bay. Those are selling for like $9 million now. That would have been a $90,000 investment in 1982. And I look back at that because I remember one of my friends bought one and actually decided to live there. We could sneak out on the golf course and play for free in the afternoon or the evenings when nobody was looking. But, yeah, I was just like, real estate's good. So if you were blessed enough to be able to buy a home 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but I'll tell you, Generation X, and that's some of the news feeds I follow are young Generation X people that are doing this, millennials that are online talking. I am heartbroken for them, but they're angry. Most of them have reserved themselves knowing they will never have the home that they grew up in. They don't know how they can produce that for their next generation, and they're angry.
And they have, I understand,
good reason.
Good reason to be angry.
Yeah.
But is there a fix? I don't think so.
We've been talking about the gold standard for decades. You and I have been talking about it ever since we've been talking about what Nixon did. And it goes deeper than that, but we've been printing money. The Federal Reserve didn't exist until 1912, and I don't know why it's there. They started printing money to get us out of the Depression and never stopped. The last time we had a balanced budget was under Clinton, and when the Republicans controlled the House and the Senate, we had Newt Gingrich in there, and him and Clinton they sat down and just hashed it out and balanced the budget, and we haven't had one since.
Well, and again, I think that, in my opinion, is because the demands of the people for services that there aren't resources for.
I think it's the demand of the system. It's growing. It's like this huge blob just feeding upon itself.
The administration of this. But I'm thinking it's everything. We keep making people. How many times have we heard? We were little kids. The population bomb. How it's going to change everything.
And now we're shrinking.
And but not very much.
But Bobby Kennedy brings this up, and he's so brilliant with all this stuff. he talks about how we had that our generation, the population explosion. And I think those fears and that matrix pushed the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry to try to manipulate our food supply because they wanted to feed everyone. I think what's happened to our food supply, our crops that are mass produced, did not happen nefariously. I believe it came about because they wanted to feed the world. But what they didn't realize is when they genetically modified things so they could make sure they could feed everyone, that they were genetically modifying each of us, and now we're the sickest nation. Our kids, ADHD, all of this. If you look at what it takes to create some of the foods that we eat on a regular basis, they have to process it. They use petroleum products. They manipulate everything, and it's like how is it in Africa? There's almost
how do we stop it? And if we stop it, how do we?
We starve everyone to death.
See, I mean,
Bam! There's a catch-22.
Right.
Yes,
it's like, so what do you do now?
We have to somehow not go. Well, I love home gardens. I think everyone should do that. That's not realistic. We have huge cities where people don't even know where beef comes from. Seriously,
really?
That's
no, but I mean,
tongue in cheek.
What do you do when you're up to your ears in alligators? What do you do when those 20 million people that you're telling me that came in? What do you do now? What do we do now?
I don't.
We export them and have them on the other side of the border and destroy Mexico and Canada?
No.
And say, yeah, we got ours. Let's put up our walls.
No, I think, Jason, just to put the fear of God, if that's the terminology, which it is, put the fear of God and say that that's going to happen. And I think the bad people who know that they have a paper trail of being prisoners, murderers, all of that, they're going to go, oh, wait, I better go flee to another country, maybe go back down south where I speak the language better or whatever. I think just another, here we go. We got a big stick. I said, okay, I'm here. I came across the border. I'm a good person. I've never been in jail. I just want to come and work. And those are the people we really want. And I want them to stay, and I want them to have a path to immigration that is clean. But we also need to understand that a lot of people across the borders were just dumped out of jails all the way down through South America. And most people that came in are not from Mexico. Most of the people across the border are not from Mexico. They estimate at least 600,000 Chinese men that have crossed the border from my friends that work on the border, and they all speak perfect English, and they're all between about 18 and 24.
So what does that mean to you?
I do not know, but there's conspiracy.
Too much crazy stuff going on in China.
I don't know.
And they've come in a route to get into the United States because they'd like to apply something that they're doing into a better world. It's hard to know.
It's hard to know. I don't want to assume anything. I would like to assume the best, that some of the smartest and brightest got out of China and said, we're going to go to the promised land.
How do we shift? You know, the only thing I've seen in history that shifts things like this is decimation of war, where suddenly, or hurricanes, where people are cooperating and saving each other, and then a totally different quality comes out in people.
Well, people rise up. We're seeing a huge uprising in China right now. China is just a hotbed. They are on the verge of a huge Tiananmen Square moment because their economy, they're being able to power, their food chain has broken down. They limited they're giving incentives now for women to have more babies because they limited them to one baby and they only took male babies. And now all of a sudden China is in this, oh crap, we did this too long. We don't have our backfill of population. And all these older people are like, here's too many older people and there's not enough younger. And the younger people are like, wait, no, this isn't working. The promise.
And we have it here. I mean, do. You look at China, that scenario that you're talking about, old people, we have a crisis here. going out of style here.
Oh, yeah.
So what do we do about all this? Do we just sort of let it play out and let people die? Maybe. The answer is maybe.
Well, look at Oregon. Look at the state of Oregon. Right now in the state of Oregon, if you're a resident, you've been there 3 years, you can go down, file the paperwork, and you can apply for assisted suicide under any number of conditions. Just check a box. Have your doctor sign it.
That's new for me.
No, I have a family member that's already done that. If they get to a certain point in their quality of life, they're out of here.
Well, personally, again, that's like abortion. I'd like to have the option, but I don't know if I'd exercise the option.
I know. And this goes back to we're not taking care of our family. Our families have been spread to the ends of the earth. You know, I talk to a lot of people when I'm out walking, and a lot of them are people that have lived here generations. And the most painful thing I hear from them is that, well, my kids had to leave because they needed to find work, because they couldn't buy a home here. And now there's more Hawaiians living in the mainland than there are living in Hawaii.
No surprise.
Yeah, and that's the same story everywhere. It's
everywhere.
Just like, yeah.
But here in the islands, I know. You know, I don't know. You know, where I'm jumping all over the map. When you're talking about people leaving and Hawaiians, Maui, people are leaving for all kinds of reasons. But our economy here is not forecast to be seeing any growth.
Not in the tourist industry
for another decade,
at least. What I'm seeing with my little swim thing is I'm seeing a lot of people that are coming here are bringing their work with them, and they are working from their computers. They're not the 9-to-5ers. They're people that have skills
and some shekels.
They've worked hard, and, you know,
no, it's okay.
and they've achieved.
A lot of people have worked hard, but I'm saying from what you're talking about, it's the more technically people that have the ability to work remotely, and that are probably, like you say, not your average worker. They're more management.
Very well, not even management. They're just they have created a niche for themselves, and there's a lot of companies now. And this is what I'm seeing with the folks that I've been working in the water with, that they would like, the reason they're moving to Hawaii, they still want to live here, but they like our time zone because they do a lot of their work in other time zones, and Hawaii makes it more comfortable with the circadian rhythm where they can actually, I get up at 3 in the morning and I go to work and I work till noon. I put in my 8-hour day because I'm working in a time zone somewhere else on the planet. And I think that's the future. I do. I
but
think
who's going to do the other work?
Well, look at restaurants that can't even open 7 days a week anymore.
Well, isn't that so? We're finding more and more people are getting computer savvy, and when you open up the internet and you go on there, hey, if you do this, you could get this many hits, and you get. Where are those real kind of production things?
I know, Jason, that's scary.
I know. Soon it's going to be all order your food. Yeah. When you go to a restaurant, they don't have menus. They have little QR codes there for you to see everything there. And they don't take your credit card. They scan it immediately.
Oh, this does everything. It's a tool.
So, like I say, old people said, we don't want to play with those phones and those computers. That's too techno. And now it's like, I can't do anything. I don't have a computer. I can't do anything. So we older, I'm going to call myself older. 73. Some people say that's not old. It's the new 50. No, it's the current 73. But
and you're getting new parts every day.
You're so funny. I only got one new part.
Oh, I know, but you're on that treadmill now. You're going to be getting all kinds of new parts.
Well, it's still going to be a little while. I see the guy tomorrow. I got one more stitch.
Yeah,
I had an infection because I jumped in the pool and
he leaked.
Yeah, I leaked and I suddenly got an infection. And I think they check the water in these places, but they don't check.
It's automatic. Now it's monitored and it's reported right directly to the county.
But the water in these pools is still.
I think it's excellent.
Well, I just know that when people test it, I have a guy who's in the water business,
Mm-hmm.
and when he tests pool water, it's, they compare it to sewer water when they talk about what. And I'm sure that pools, they do the best they can in a generic way, but once again, I still don't know how. At some point, we're going to be so shoulder to shoulder, and we're going to have no housing. And you go up, there are places along Ho'omua up there on the north shore of Maui where the Paia people want to close the gates at both ends so no one can use those areas. People are going into those areas and cutting into the fields and making places to live because there's nowhere to be, and you can't be in the town, and they throw you out of the harbor, and
they're building low income housing, but they're running off all the low income jobs.
Well, and this low income housing is for people that are low income and working.
Yeah.
And can somehow afford the low-income housing. There's lots that can't afford that.
No, I'm in what's considered low income over there in Kihei, and you need now to move into where I'm at. You need $9,000 of gross income a month to qualify, and I'm in low income.
What?
Yes.
I don't even understand that.
California Pioneer Corporation out of California that's running where I live. It was half that before COVID. Well, and that was doable.
9,000 income?
Gross per month to qualify to move in there.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
How do you have any new tenants?
There aren't any. There's 16 open units now. People are they're either leaving or they've gotten into the other housing that's been a working housing that's available.
Or FEMA gives them big money and they put them in without qualifying? That kind of stuff? I don't
know. There's this strange black hole with that. How do you, if you took $4 billion and divided it by every one of us that live on the island, they could have written us each a check for over $1 million for the fire.
Yeah, but we wouldn't use it as appropriately as
no.
they would.
Well, that's what they want you to believe.
They'd be buying candy and everything else
with $1 million.
Yeah, it's nice to say that. That sounds really dramatic, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you had $4 billion, we all could have had $1 million each.
Yeah.
And then what? Have no roads, no infrastructure.
I know. I'm just being.
I know you are.
I
like the way you make. People told me I'm the long version. When. Right now, people have an attention span of 3 seconds, 8 seconds, and I'm talking for an hour on a subject. No wonder people are falling asleep, going away. Yet, this works when someone takes this link of our long-winded show to people that have a specific interest. That, like when you had Janelle on.
Yeah.
You can get lots of views. But most people don't want some long, in-depth discussion.
Yeah, that discussion went to over 41,000 views across the country because the wildland firefighters are struggling in every state in the union.
They took the initiative to share it.
They took the initiative to share
I
it.
did an interview with a gal last week, and I've had people say to me, wow, that was a really good show. I hope you'll have her on again. Where are our sponsors? Where are our people on? People get on our show and they don't, if we had marketing, like you say about media, something has to be done that the long show, the ones that go into more depth about
the Joe Rogan types, the Brett Shapiro's, they all started, well, Joe is big. Brett started just out of college, and a lot of those guys that just started out of college, their content was so good from the get-go. That's what generated up their status. They put on such a good show.
Are you insulting us here that our content isn't?
I'm okay.
No, but I think that I remember, and I more than remember, the people that I brought to my show.
You've had excellent guests.
Have been to make things better.
Right.
That has been my. Right, and today we're having a time. I thought I was going to have Tom Cook here, Councilman Tom Cook, because I did an interview of Kelly King, and only to be fair, I wanted Tom to be on.
Right. And
his office haven't got. In one more week, I was keeping this space open thinking I'd have him. But in one more week, the election's almost here.
Yeah.
Unless people put things out, this media is public access. It doesn't mean people watch it. It's public access.
Yeah.
It means they can go there if they want.
It's the radio waves. I mean, what we barely reach the south end of Kihei, I think, when we're on the radio, 88.5.
Yeah, but, they have all these other ways. You go to Maui Stream right on your phone and get all the shows.
Absolutely. You buy a mailing list or an email list, and you're hitting... They have companies now that will target... I mean, you'll spend about... I remember when I was running for office, it cost me about 35 cents a hit to get a direct mailing to somebody that was borderline, and that was direct mailing back then. The internet was.
They went through the rolls to see what someone's votes were last time. And
no,
they
can't read somebody's votes. They
can't.
No one can see your vote, Jason.
After the fact. Well, see that's nice to know. Because why then only your declaration? They're declared a Republican. They're declared.
They see that, yeah. That they can see. That's pretty much. But as far as who you vote for,
so who was your 35 cents thing being sent to?
They were people that either bought this product or that product, or belonged to the Lions Club, or belonged to
where that profile you thought would be closer
to your agenda. And that's not a new science. That's just crushing numbers. It was political statistic analysis, which I took in college, which I thought I was going to hate and I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Because it breaks down the numbers. So if you buy this or do this or belong to this organization or go to this church and it kind of targets you as maybe being a person that's going to go, I'm going to vote for somebody that wants more free hydroelectric power or salmon restoration or, open coast.
And you were doing it manually. Now with the internet, all that data is being collected
at the tip
by
of your
all these
fingers.
Social media
Yes, but the news media and all the internet and everyone, political activists, what has changed drastically in the last 20 years is it's not our politicians using it. It's not the media using it. It's these giant organizations. FEMA has a huge budget for that. The Homeland Security has a huge budget for that. CDC has a huge budget for how they present themselves and how they reach out and how they word things. All of these huge agencies now have become what Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Federalist Papers is we have to be very vigilant against growing our government to a point that we, the people, no longer have control of agencies of the government. I believe that's a direct quote. That agency needs to stay with the people, and we've let agency be taken by huge corporations. We came up against this with the Ottawalu thing. It was taken out of Mayor Bisson's hands. It was taken out of Josh Green's hands, and we turned it over to FEMA, which has a huge budget for how they interact and how people see them. And here we are. You and I don't have.
And I saw it interesting. When here people were getting $750 from FEMA, and there was a lot of grumbling about it. That's all. Well, now with Hurricane Helene, that has become
Here they got $750
bucks each. It's like, hey, how you like that?
Yeah.
And now we're having another hurricane rolling through. That area is going to be one muddy place.
It is. I'll tell you. 2 of my kids, my foster kids, survived Katrina, and they ended up getting in the foster care system because of Katrina. And they talked about how it was such a mess after Katrina. To respond to something as totally devastating as a hurricane fire that we had in Lahaina. That was just, a 100-year event. Obviously, the last one was 100 and some years before this one. It's mind-boggling to me. Now that I've driven through Lahaina and I've seen more of it, I'm like, you just can't get in a semi like President past President Trump drove into the hurricane area with 5 or 25 semis loaded with food and supplies instantly. Drove them right down there and got them there. We don't have that here.
Well, again, it's interesting you would mention President Trump driving a truck or having a truck caravan. His image needs to be changed.
Well,
I don't see him in a truck.
You don't?
No.
He's a longshoreman. Well, now he's got the longshoremen's union. He's got the firemen's union. He's got the police and firefighters. He's got almost all the union, which has never happened.
Well, it's going to be very interesting because I don't really know what's going on, and it's going to be very close or it's not. I was listening today. By just this little bit, this could not be so close.
I was kind of on the fence about that whole thing, and then when Bobby Kennedy signed up, because I've always been in favor of Bobby Kennedy's Make a Healthy America agenda, which he's had for the last 20 years he's been fighting for, and then Telsey, who I absolutely trust. I've had interactions like you and I've had with her, and I absolutely trust her. And then I'm like going, okay, so 2 out of 3 ain't bad. It's just like,
well, the fact is really clear to me that Bobby Kennedy couldn't go to a Harris camp because those are the people that are in power. Against the people in power, the only alternative would be to hook up with someone that isn't in power.
Right.
So I don't see Bobby Kennedy and Donald Trump as having a lot of things they agree on. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump would be a absolutely strong advocate of all the things that Kennedy's been talking about.
Yeah.
And because Kennedy wants to rouse the system and change so many things, he and Trump are aligned.
Yeah, they want to make our food system better. They want to make sure there's accountability in the pharmaceutical market.
So do the other guys.
But they're taking all the money, though. I mean, we've got Kamala Harris over here with trillionaires backing her.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's a trillionaire that's backing her?
BlackRock.
Oh, you're talking
Putin.
About the company.
Putin came out and endorsed her.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know how many Americans are really worried about what Putin has
I know,
to
but
say.
I thought I'd throw it in there because it was such a shock. Are we pretty burned through the day already?
We are burnt. We have 4 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Well, I like these kind of conversations with Scott because he brings up things to make you guys and me think. But I am pulling away from my long diatribe shows.
Okay, that was long enough. Stop, Jason.
No, it's really true. I mean, I've had people that say, I get into gear. You all right?
Yeah, I just got a leg cramp.
Yeah. But I don't really know what's going to happen this whole season. I do know that I like the conversations we have because people are going to vote the way they do.
Yeah.
But when they listen to us, they hear a mixed, I hope they hear,
yeah,
a mixed bag that it makes them think.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the Bobby Kennedy camp. I really was. You know that. I really was like, this is the guy. He's straightforward. He's never changed. He's been right there. He's pretty much left leaning. I would never. That's not the Democratic Party that's in power right now, and he's kind of that. He's that RFK. He's kind of like his father. He's kind of like he's like an old Democrat, and I agree with most of all of that.
Well, so that's why I say when we put labels, I'm green, you're Republican, this one's green. We have to learn to cooperate, help each other, whether there's a law in place or not.
We need schools to teach statesmanship where you can argue and disagree and still be friends.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. That would be just pretty simple.
Scott, because it's radio, I want to make sure that our audience remembers. This is Scott R. Bushnell from AlohaSwimLessons.com.
Been teaching private lessons for almost 50 years.
But he doesn't just teach lessons on how to swim.
No.
He gets into the whole cognitive thing.
The whole cognitive.
And helps
people who have never swam.
Have never swam or have deep-seated things going on that are now mostly adults, right?
Almost all adults. Or people that grew up, and lately I've had so many folks from India, Pakistan. I've had people from the Emirates. I've had.
So we do get people here, except I always thought it's all from California.
No,
half of it is
Californians.
California.
Californians can swim. People in the Midwest,
they can swim here. That's a good idea.
There you go. Nice.
We have a minute and change left. Anything that you'd like to say before we?
It's always fun when I was hoping to be snorkeling this morning, actually with a family from Pakistan, but the ocean this morning was not safe. So I was lucky enough to be able to make it in here tonight. I always enjoy it. It's a tragic day. We need to, keep our prayers to Israel and everybody and the casualties that are not Hezbollah.
Right. In all these countries out there, all the people that are getting slaughtered, I'm not into that. But I don't know how to measure my response when someone just killed 1,200 people.
Right.
It's a really
and if you add up 70
situation.
years, you're looking at several 100,000.
40 seconds. Isn't that amazing?
Cool.
You do it every time. You make me forget what time it is. That's great.
Good. And the night nurse will be in to give you your medication now.
Thank you, Daddy.
Nurse Ratchet.
Scott Bushnell, it's been great having you here on the show. This is the Neutral Zone. As you can hear, it is anything but neutral. And we will be back here next week on Monday at 11 o'clock. And wherever you are in the world, please check in. We are leaving you. And I am going to play our music. Watch.
Aloha.
Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next week. Blessings, everyone.